Thank you all for being here. We are here to announce the arrest and charging of some pretty dangerous people. We will get into the details in a moment, but I want to start, first of all, by saying that the DA's office, here in collaboration with Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, with our partners in the Philadelphia Police Department and in the Attorney General's office, are here to announce that the Gun Violence Task Force has charges against 4 suspects in some shootings that occurred in Strawberry Mansion in 2021. These shootings involve a total of 5 victims. They include 2 homicides. They include 2 non-fatal shootings. They are 4 separate incidents, and they involve 4 defendants, all of whom, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but all of whom were already in custody. And they were already in custody because the deep, serious investigative work that has gone on here allowed all of us to work together to get them in custody as quickly as possible so that their rampage of shootings could be stopped while these investigations continued. There are some graphics that are going to be shown here, one of which is a map of the location of the shootings. We will make that electronically available for those of you in the media who may need it. I want to make sure we are all aware of some of the good people who are here. We have with us First Assistant Bob Listenby, ADA Joseph Lanuti, that's L-A-N-U-T-I, Joseph Lanuti of our Gun Violence Task Force has been the primary prosecutor on this case, and he is here and he will be speaking about the specifics and telling the story of these cases. We also have with us his supervisor, the chief of the Gun Violence Task Force, and that is Bill Fritzie. We have Eric Degree, that's D-E-G-R-E-E, hope that's right, Special Agent in Charge, which means the top guy, for alcohol, tobacco, firearms in this area. We have with us Timothy Hartman, who is a detective with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, detailed over there from the Philadelphia Police Department. We have Joseph Ruta, that's R-U-T-A, who's a supervisory special agent with ATF. Myra Maxwell is here, and she, of course, is the executive director for the DAO's Victim Support Services Division. She will have a brief message for people who have been affected by these and other shootings. And we have ADA Joanne Pescator, who's here from our Homicide Non-Fatal Shooting Unit. One of the sad ironies of this situation is the people who have been arrested are the members of a group that is named after someone who was murdered. The name of the group, Big Natty Gang, or BNG, well, Big Natty was murdered at 15. And the people who killed him are being prosecuted by the DA's office right now through the Homicide Non-Fatal Shooting Unit. And sadly, after Big Natty was murdered, people who knew him, people who liked him, decided the best thing to do was more murders, which is what brings us here today. I also want to give some, I want to lift up and give some light to a couple people who are not here. One of them is Dr. Garvey of the Forensic Unit. He's the chief of the Forensic Unit for the Philadelphia Police Department, whose forensic work, and by that I mean his unit's forensic work, was instrumental in solving these cases. Another one is Lieutenant Walsh, who's the head of the Firearms Investigation Unit for the Philadelphia Police Department. Same thing for him. His work has been crucial here, and I want to also lift up Commissioner Daniel Outlaw, who, of course, supervises them. And in this case, their work has been crucial, and it has been very, very important. There is a phrase that came up in this investigation. It was a text from one of these participants to another, and the text was that they had put the H in homicide. Well, today we are going to put the J in jail because we've had enough killings, shootings, blood, juveniles on both sides of the gun. We've had enough. And people who want to put the H in homicide are going to find out that we are going to put the J in jail. At this time, it is my pleasure, my honor, to call up a very, very capable, hardworking young attorney in our office who will give us some of the basics on what went on with this important investigation. It's my hope that Eric DeGree is going to give us some of the details about the collaborative unit that has been able to bring this investigation afterwards. But we want to start with the story of the case before we pull out a little bit and we talk about how this good work got done, who did it, and who deserves the credit for it. So it's my pleasure at this time to call forward ADA Joseph Lanuti.
Thank you, District Attorney Krasner, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe Lanuti. I'm an Assistant District Attorney here in the City and County of Philadelphia, specifically the Gun Violence Task Force Unit. I was a part of a grand jury investigation that led to the arrest yesterday of 4 individuals. The 31st County Investigating Grand Jury investigated a series of shootings and homicides in the North Philadelphia area and found that these shootings and homicides were connected with a group known as BNG, or the Big Naughty Gang. That's spelled N-A-D-D-Y. As the district attorney stated, Naughty was an individual by the name of Namir Johnson, who was killed in April of 2021. The grand jury heard several hours of testimony spanning several days and identified the following members of BNG: Jameer Brunson Gans, Dante Sutton, Khalil Henry, and Elijah Soto. They also recommended charges of attempted murder and homicide in relation to 4 separate incidents in North Philadelphia. Yesterday, we arrested and charged Dante Sutton for the attempted murder of 2 victims in the location of 2414 North 33rd Street that occurred on July 14th, 2021. We also charged and arrested Jameer Brunson Gans for the attempted murder of a single victim who was shot multiple times on September 5th, 2021 in the location of 3114 North Judson Street. We arrested and charged Jameer Brunson Gans and Elijah Soto for the homicide that occurred on September 6, 2021 of Jordan Murray that occurred in the location of 2200 West Huntington Street. We arrested and charged Dante Sutton, Elijah Soto, and Khalil Henry for the homicide of Jarek Jenkins that occurred on September 18, 2021 in the location of 2900 West York Street. And earlier this year, as the district attorney mentioned, we had Khalil Henry and Dante Sutton arrested for a double shooting that occurred on October 4th, 2021 at 2839 North 26th Street. This was an extensive investigation conducted and led by PPD Detective Timothy Hartman, who is a task force officer with the ATF. It's worth noting that Detective Hartman has worked with the Gun Violence Task Force Unit in previous investigations into groups in South Philadelphia. As always, we are assisted by our partners at the Attorney General's Office, as well as the Shooting Investigation Group and homicide detectives at the PPD. We were also greatly assisted by the criminal analysts here at the Gun Violence Task Force, specifically Paul Haggerty and Christopher Lazinski, who work here at the District Attorney's Office, who help sift through the mountain of forensic and digital evidence that are involved in these types of investigations. The motives for these shootings were varied, and much of these details are currently still under seal. What I can say is that this investigation revealed that the Big Naughty Gang, or BNG, committed a spree of gun violence in North Philadelphia, led largely by its desire to seek notoriety and infamy for committing these acts in the Strawberry Mansion neighborhood. And just so the message is clear, the Gun Violence Task Force, GVTF, is a collaborative unit with the Attorney General's Office, but we are also partnering with federal law enforcement partners, such as the ATF, to address and combat the gun violence here in Philadelphia. We have previously arrested drivers of crime in both South and Southwest Philadelphia, and now we are expanding to North Philadelphia and other parts of the city. Just to be very clear, if you are a gang that is committing gun violence in Philadelphia, don't be surprised if you're next. Again, I'd like to thank the ATF, the Attorney General's Office, the Philadelphia Police Department for assisting us in this extensive investigation. And I'll give the podium back now to the District Attorney.
Thank you. Excuse me, ADA Lanuti. It is now my pleasure to introduce Special Agent in Charge, Eric Degree of ATF. He will be flanked when he addresses you from the podium by two people. One of them is Supervisory Special Agent Joseph Ruda of ATF, and the other one will be Detective Timothy Hartman, who is also a member of the PPD, who is with the ATF Task Force. Special Agent Degree, I hope you understand how much we appreciate the incredible work that you have been doing, that ATF has been doing, and that you have been doing in collaboration through this special unit.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. In 1997, ATF established the National Integrated Ballistic Network, otherwise known as NIBIN, to provide local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies across the country with an automated ballistic imaging network. This technology is vital to any agent's violent crime strategy because it enables investigators to link multiple shooting events anywhere in the nation. ATF's NIBIN program has provided countless vital leads that have enabled law enforcement to identify, investigate, and prosecute offenders and stop the shooting cycle from continuing. Since its inception, over 5.7 million pieces of ballistic evidence are currently stored in the system, and over 700,000 leads have been distributed to investigators. NIBIN, along with ATF's E-Trace systems, are critical parts to any crime gun intelligence program because it identifies and apprehends shooters that do not respect city or county lines. In 2021, the ATF Philadelphia Field Division created a new unit, a criminal enforcement group called the Crime Gun Enforcement Team. This group is made up of multiple law enforcement agencies, including ATF, the Philadelphia Police Department, the Pennsylvania State Police, the Pennsylvania Attorney General's Office, the United States Attorney's Office, the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office, and the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections. Utilizing NIBIN investigative leads, such as you heard today, this group has been responsible for the arrest of almost 100 people, responsible for over 550 acts of violence. ATF is committed to helping its state, local, and federal partners by providing timely crime gun intelligence products, as well as the training to ensure they have all the necessary tools to reduce violent crime. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Special Agent in Charge Degree. At this time, before we go to Q&A, it is my pleasure to introduce the Chief of our Victim Services Unit, Reverend Myra Maxwell. It's very important that we do not forget, even when we have a victory, even when we have success, even when a case is solved, charges are brought, even when we have a conviction and a sentence, it's very important we don't forget the victims and those traumatized by this activity. The number of personnel dedicated to serving the needs of victims within the DA's office has doubled in the last 5 years. We have gone from about 29 to about 58. And that does not include all the outside services providers who are under contract with our office and who are funded through this office. And that is because we care that much and we are that dedicated. And it's also because we have so many shootings at this time, and we have so many homicides at this time, and we have to meet the moment. We need to remember all the people whose cases are not solved, all the people who live on a block that has been traumatized. And we need to know that witnesses are protected. We need to know survivors are protected, even relocated if need be, with help of our partners. And therefore, I want to make sure we take a moment to allow Reverend Maxwell to address anybody who may be in that position.
Good afternoon, and thank you, DA Krasner. I'd like to, on behalf of the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office and our Victim Support Services Division, to draw attention to all of the co-homicide survivors and those who are survivors of gun violence here in the city of Philadelphia. It does not matter if there's an arrest in your case. You can reach out to us. We are here to support you, to provide resources for you, to support you alongside of our community-based partners, which there are numerous partners that we have in this city, to make certain that your services or your needs are met. I want to particularly point out that here at the DA's office, we have victim witness coordinators that are assigned to our homicide and non-fatal shooting unit, and also in our gun violence task force. So please, if there is a need, if you are impacted by gun violence here in the city of Philadelphia, you don't have to wait until there's an arrest in your case. You can have services provided and resources available for you. I would encourage you to reach out to us by phone at 215-686-8027. I'm going to repeat that, 215-686-8027, or you could reach us on our website, which is phillyda.org, phillyda.org. This will get you to someone who can support you, and we are here. Please know that we are available and we want to do what we can to provide the support that you may need at this very critical time. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Reverend Maxwell. All right, we will make sure everyone has an opportunity to ask questions that are on the topic. And I would like to start, in no particular order, but with the order on my list, with Isabel Sanchez from Telemundo, and I guess Miguel, is it Pomales? And Miguel Pomales is here as well.
Brevemente en español, si nos pudiera decir acerca de los cargos y la importancia de aprender a personas que cometen este tipo de crímenes.
Ok, en español. Estamos aquí para anunciar el arresto de 4 personas con 5 víctimas en 4 disparos distintos que causaron en el año 21. En realidad, son unos casos muy serios, 2 homicidios, varios disparos que pasaron, y por eso estamos aquí celebrando con nuestros socios en ATF, por ejemplo, la resolución de estas investigaciones, y vamos a proseguir estos casos de una modo bien seria.
Y el mensaje ha sido siempre que las personas que estén en organized crime, gangs, o como le quiera decir, van a enfrentar las consecuencias. Si pudiera decir eso.
So you want me to translate my little jingle? Is that what you want? Okay, let me see. See, that's the hard part. Let me see.
Let's go now, so you can say that, and then pass it because
Okay, en esta investigación tuvimos un mensaje, y el mensaje entre 2 personas que estaban en estos crímenes fue que iban a poner el H en homicidio. Estamos aquí para decir que vamos a poner la C en cárcel. Does that work? Okay, thank you. Maggie Kent, 6ABC.
I have 2 questions. My first one being, there's a little bit of a discrepancy between the map and what's on there and what I heard, because we have a count here of 5 shootings with 7 total victims, but then we're talking about 4 shootings with 5 victims. So I just wanted to check in with that, because I believe the one that we're missing, which is up here on the map, is the October 4th incident, which is a double non-fatal.
I'm going to let Mr. Lanuti address that. I think I know the answer, but I'd rather have the expert answer it. Is that all right, Mr. Lanuti?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
So just to be clear, and I apologize for the confusion, the shooting that occurred on October 4th, 2021, that arrest and those charges were brought earlier this year so that Dante Sutton and Cleo Henry were in custody while we finished the investigation. And yesterday, those 4 cases that you just heard were charged and arrested.
All right, stay right here. What is it? What's your second question, Ms. Kent?
I want to add another. Okay. May I add another for you, ADA Lindsay?
So I can't get into a lot of the details of how these individuals were identified. What I can say is that we used various forensic techniques and resources, both at our disposal and also with the assistance of the ATF.
And my final, I'm sorry, Special Agent in Charge degree, can you talk about how NIBIN specifically helped here in this case?
We can talk about that. Oh, I have a problem with it.
Okay, please.
NIBIN is the system, it's the National Integrated Ballistic Identification Network, so it can link different shooting scenes together via examining fired cartridge casings.
And that's what we did here.
Partly. All right, thank you. Next is Cheyenne Corin. Is it Corin?
Yes, correct. How are you?
I'm fine, how are you? And also, we have Elaine Fisher with you.
Question, Big Natty Gang, any idea of the size of this gang?
Let me check with my expert, see what, certain things we are happy to reveal, certain things relate to the integrity of investigation, so we may or may not be able to answer that, but let me check with my expert.
Thank you. So the grand jury has identified other members of this group, but we're not in a position to give their names at this time until charges are brought against them.
Can I ask a follow-up? What would your word be to those other members of the gang that are not under arrest right now, but see, some of their fellow members that have been?
I think this is a time where they should realize that they are under investigation and that if they are involved with any criminal activity or involved with any criminal associates, to stop now because things are only going to get worse.
I would supplement that by saying, put the gun down, get away from the gun, and if you would like to spend most of your life on the street, then you need to talk to us and tell us what you know, because this has to end. All right, is there anything else, Ms. Corin? All right, thank you. KYW, Kristen Johansson.
Do we know about the motivation yet? Is this a separate group, or can you just expand a little bit on that?
Let me see what we can do on that.
What I can say is that these victims and decedents aren't a part of a rival group, as we've seen in investigations in the past. Like I said, the motivations for each of the shootings are varied, and I'm not able to get into the specific details at this time, since many of the details are still under seal. Like I said, though, this group sought notoriety, they sought infamy, they sought attention, and that was part of the motivation for each and every one of these shooting incidents.
When you say that they're part of a rival group, is it they're all part of one rival group or many different?
Sorry, the decedents and victims in this case are not a member of rival groups, of a single rival group, as we've seen in other GVTF investigations.
Okay. And then I believe there was also a question about when you are all four are in custody. So we had a question.
Yes, all four individuals, defendants, are in custody and were in custody when we charged them yesterday.
And then do they have any background issues or were they arrested before and if so for what?
They have, specifically for some of the individuals, they have previous VUFA arrests.
For some or all?
I'm not going to go into all of their specific criminal history, but these are not their first arrests.
All right, thank you. So we have Sherry Stone and Abdul Suleiman from the Tribune.
I know they were looking for attention, but
Short answer, as I understand it, is no. That this was more, as the name of the group suggests, this was more about past conflict, more about disrespect, more about self-promotion through social media, more about having reputations for being terrorists. That's more what this was about. You know, this is a trend. You raise a really interesting question, because this is a trend that we have seen in the last few years that does not resemble what was going on a decade ago, and does, to some extent, coincide with trends and availability of social media. Do you have any other questions? All right, thank you. Mr. McDonald. HYY, I'm sorry.
Do they have a visible presence right now on social media from this fear and intimidation campaign you speak of?
Let me check with my experts, if I may.
What I can say is that they do have a social media presence online. They've posted it themselves via various applications such as YouTube. They have various music videos.
As the Big Daddy Gang?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. McDonald. Jack Tomchuk. Did I mispronounce your name? No. All right, from the Metro.
Yes, I wanted to see if we get the spellings of the men who were arrested.
Yes, absolutely. I can do it now if you'd like, since others may need it. We have Dante Sutton. You will all correct me if my spellings are incorrect, but that's D-O-N-T-A-E, Sutton, S-U-T-T-O-N. We have Jamir Brunson Gans. Jamir I have as J-A-M-I-R. Brunson Gans is a hyphenated name. I have that as B-R-U-N-S-O-N hyphen G-A-N-S. So capital B, capital G, Jamir Brunson Gans. We have Elijah Soto. Elijah is E-L-I-J-A-H, and Soto is S-O-T-O. And finally, there is Khalil Henry. That's K-H-A-L-I-L. Last name Henry, H-E-N-R-Y.
And so two of them were in custody for an October 2021 shooting. Why were the other two in custody? Were they all in custody?
Understanding that there may be things we can't answer because of the existence of statutory secrecy around juvenile records, we'll answer everything we can that comes from any adult arrest.
So as far as Jamir Brunson Gans, he was previously arrested for violations of the Uniform Firearm Act, both for possessing a firearm with an obliterated serial number and possessing a firearm without a license. He's awaiting trial for that case, as well as Elijah Soto. He was also arrested for violations of the Uniform Firearms Act and possession with intent to distribute narcotics, specifically cocaine.
And were some of these who were arrested juveniles, or are they all adults at this point?
At this point, they are all adults.
Anything else, Mr. Tomchuk?
No,
All right, thank you. And then we have Mr. Cipriano of Big Trial.
Yesterday, Mr. Krasner, you stated, and I quote, "It's also extremely important we stick with facts, and we know facts. Quote, we just don't throw around assertions. We just don't pretend we know things. And we just don't get off topic." Unquote. Sir, the topic is your conflict of interest in not reporting credible allegations of aggravated assault, strangulation, no moving in your office to an outside agency for investigation. That, sir, is a conflict of interest. You're the elected official. You knew you had a conflict because the alleged perpetrator was a high-level official in your office in a close campaign period. You've repeatedly stated, sir, that I'm wrong on the facts, but you've refused to answer any question. Please, right now, in front of all these cameras, please list any fact that I got.
Sir, do you have a question having to do with the topic of this press conference?
So you called my credibility into question yesterday, and now you're not going to play a game.
Sir, do you have any questions on the topic of this press conference? Because that one's not.
You're making up the rules as you go along. It changes week to week. Sir, what did I get wrong in that report that you attacked the credibility of?
All right. Thank you all. I appreciate it.